Hello and good day. Today our topic is GST registration. This topic has been divided into the four different PowerPoint presentation. In this PowerPoint presentation, we are going to take the situation whereby the GST registration is compulsorily required under certain circumstances. But before we go for the registration, let us understand few basic concepts which will be covered under the subsequent discussion. First, we have to keep in mind the GST is a consumer based tax. The consumer based tax means that ultimate tax liability is on the consumer of the goods or the services. The person who is providing the services, once he is registered, he is supposed to collect the tax and pay the same to the government. And even if he forget to collect the tax or he doesn't collect the tax, he will have to pay the tax from his own pocket. So the supplier or the provider of the service responsibility is simply to collect the tax. Now this tax is collected under the various act. Even though GST is known as a one country one tax, in implementation part actually it is a number of the taxes which has to be paid by the consumer depending upon the various scenario. So there are 5 tax. First one is a central GST. That is a main tax on basis of which all other taxes has been devised. Then the second one is a state GST. Now in which situation the state GST is applicable and in which situation the CGST is applicable, or in which particular scenario the union territory GST is applicable or the integrated GST is applicable, we are going to deal with the same. The compensation GST is not affecting the consumer. It is an arrangement made by the government that if any state falls short because of this new concept, the government is going to compensate the state to that particular extent of the shortfall. So as a consumer, we are interested basically in the first 4 knowledge of the law. That is a central GST, state GST, henceforth it will be known as a CGST or SGST or UTGST and the IGST. So this has to be kept in mind. Then the next part is a taxability. Now we have to remember the taxability of the goods and the service are different from the taxability of a particular transaction. The goods may be liable to tax, but certain transaction may not be liable to tax. And when the goods is liable to tax, it may be liable to the full rate of tax. That means if the tax is on that particular goods is provided at 18%, it will be liable at 18%. If it is a luxury goods and the tax is provided at 28%, it will be liable at 28%. So the 18% as well as 28% become the full rate of tax. Then there are concessional rate of tax. The government under certain situation provide that scenario that you may not have to pay the full tax, but you will have to pay lesser amount of the tax. So that is a different aspect. The third one is an exempted. Now certain goods which are of the essential nature, take for example vegetable, they are exempted from the tax because it is necessary for each and every consumer. As I told you, GST is a consumer based tax. So if government desire to give any particular section of the people or any particular section of the consumer, then in that particular scenario they may either provide a concessional rate of tax or they may exempt certain goods. Then there is a zero rate of tax. Now exempted and the zero rate net effect is same. That the tax liability will not be there. But under the zero rate or the nil rate of taxation, you are entitled for an input tax credit, whereas the same is not the case when the goods are exempted from the tax. So when we come into the taxability provision or the classification and the rate of the goods, that's a different completely PowerPoint presentation. We'll be dealing at that particular moment. At this moment, you have to remember only the basic aspect. Then which particular tax is applicable depend upon the location. So if the transaction, So here the transaction comes into the picture. Previously it was a taxability of the goods or the service. Here the transaction come into the picture. So if the transaction between the two people are within the same state, that means within the same home state. So if a transaction is between Mumbai and Nagpur, both are in Maharashtra, then it becomes a home state. So that type of transaction is known as a intrastate transaction. And if it is an intrastate transaction, we should know the two law, that is CGST and the SGST. Or it can be between the two union territory. Take for example Delhi and the other union territory, Andaman Nicobar. In that particular case, it's between the two Indian territory. Then that doesn't become the same intrastate transaction. It will become the union territory transaction. But if the transaction is between the two different states or two different territory or any other combination other than the home state, in that case it is known as an interstate transaction. And in the case of the interstate transaction, it is an integrated GST is applicable. But what the government has done to see that the impact in totality remain the same. So if the IGST, that is an integrated transaction, is 18%, when it is an intrastate transaction, means within the home state, then this 18% is divided into two parts as 9% for CGST, 9% for SGST. The detailed basis of the classification, that which transaction is known as an intrastate transaction or which transaction is an interstate transaction, when we deal with the place of supply. To give an example at this particular stage, take an example. If goods are being loaded in the flight, say flight is going from Ahmedabad to Mumbai, goods are loaded from Ahmedabad, but the person who will be consuming it, when the flight is in the state of Maharashtra, he will be consumed at that particular moment. Can it be considered as an interstate transaction? The answer is no, because in this particular scenario, it has been provided that if the goods are loaded from a particular state, then it becomes an intrastate transaction. Such a number of other examples. When we deal with the place of supply, and that is a different PowerPoint presentation, we'll be going into the same, but at this moment it is sufficient to know that there can be an intrastate transaction or there can be an interstate transaction. Now let us discuss when the compulsory registration is required, and the compulsory registration has been provided under section 24. It may be noted that whenever we refer to the section, we are referring to the section of the CGST Act. If we are referring to any other section of other act, then accordingly the same will be noted. And when the registration is compulsorily required, it is irrespective of the turnover limit. That means that there is no turnover limit criteria. So if any particular person or his transaction fall in the given 8 scenario, then the registration is compulsory. The first scenario of any person who is engaged in the interstate taxable supply of goods or service or both, they have to get themselves compulsory registration. That means if a person is selling the goods from Mumbai to Delhi, he will have to compulsorily get himself registered if the goods which he is selling is a taxable goods. If the goods are exempted from the tax, take for example if it is a cattle feed, in that particular scenario he will not have to get himself registered, because even though transaction is interstate, he is dealing in the exempted goods. But if it is a taxable goods, he will definitely require the registration. Now let us look into the second scenario. Now in the case of the second scenario, a casual taxable person, if he is engaged in a taxable supply, then he has to compulsorily get himself registered right from the rupee 1 transaction. Here we have to understand what is the meaning of the term casual taxable person. So a casual taxable person has been defined in the law. It means that a casual taxable person means a person, and the definition isn't exhaustive because the word mean is used. A person who supplies the taxable goods or service occasionally in the taxable territory where he does not have a fixed place of business. Let me take an example. If the person from Delhi, he comes to Mumbai in the exhibition at the NSC ground of Goregaon. In that particular case, if for an exhibition is also going to sell the goods in that exhibition, then he is dealing in a taxable goods and in the taxable territory, but his main office is located in Delhi. So in Mumbai, he will be considered as a casual taxable person, and he will have to compulsorily get registration under the Maharashtra GST Act. And that person can be either a principal or he can be an agent to someone. But because he does not have a fixed place of business in this particular Maharashtra state, he will be considered as a casual taxable person and he has to compulsorily get registered. Now this casual taxable person cannot also be come under or get the benefit of the composition scheme. He is not required to file an annual return. And once he get the validation, registration valid certificate, it is valid only up to 90 days at one go. If you want further extended, then he can extend it for another 90 days. But in any case, it cannot go for more than 180 days. The person is also required to deposit the tax in advance. That means take a person is bringing 100 pieces from Delhi to display in the exhibition and to sell in exhibition. And each piece is costing, say, sale price is 10,000 rupees. So 100 into 10,000 becomes 10 lakhs. And if on that 18% is a GST, then 1,80,000 he will have to get deposit at the time of registration to the government. And after that, if he is able to sell only 90 pieces, then the 10 pieces GST he will get as a refund once he filed the return of the local tax. Now this was a second scenario. Now let us come to the third scenario. Under the third scenario, the taxable position is a reverse charge mechanism. GST is a forward charge taxes. Forward charge taxes means if a person is supplying the goods, then he has to collect the tax from the purchaser of the goods, and or is supplying a service, then he collect the taxes from the user of the service and he pays to the government. This is known as a forward charge tax. But under certain scenario, the government has provided a reverse charge mechanism. Reverse charge mechanism means the supplier don't have to pay the tax, but the user of that particular service will have to pay the tax on behalf of the supplier to the government and claim the credit in his own return. So under this following situation, the supplier not necessarily be registered under the GST. But if they are registered, then you don't have to pay the tax under the reverse charge mechanism. But if they are not registered or on this particular transaction they are not charged the tax, then as a user of the service or as a user of the goods, you will have to pay the taxes. And for that purpose, irrespective of your turnover, you will have to compulsorily get yourself registered under the GST. That means if you are using the service of the good transport agency, say you are calling the goods from any other state or even within the state, but you are using the good transport agency, that means on your expense side there is an expense on account of the good transport. In that particular scenario, you will have to get the registration done and pay the tax on that particular transaction if the good transport agency has not charged the tax nor is registered. Similarly, in the case of advocate, that if you are using the service of an advocate and you are paying in the fees, even though your turnover may be below 20 lakhs or the 40 lakhs limit as the case may be, but because you are paying that using the service of an advocate and the advocate is not registered under the GST and or he is not collecting the tax on this particular transaction, in that case you will have to pay the tax even though your limit is not liable for registration, and you have to compulsory take the registration under the GST. And once you are registered under the GST, all the effect of the registration will follow. Third is an arbitral tribunal, or you are getting the sponsorship, or you are using the service from the central or any government, or you are using a service from the director of the company. That means you are paying a director fees, On the director fees, the company will have to pay the reverse charge tax on the GST basis, and this will be liable for taxation. So company will have to obtain the compulsory registration. Similar is the case from the insurance agent service or the recovery agent service, or the service from the author, music composer, photographer, or the artist. That means if you are making a movie and you are utilizing the service of the artist, now this artist may not be registered under the GST, but because you are paying them, the artist, the professional fees, from on that artist expenses, you will have to pay the GST under the reverse charge mechanism, and you will have to compulsorily get yourself registered under the GST. Similarly, if you are purchasing the material or getting the services from the unregistered dealer, then you are also liable to pay the tax from the unregistered purchase. But at present, this tax has been suspended up to 30th of September 2020. Subsequently, what will happen? Only time will tell. Then next one is the security services. Take for example, you are having a society. Your society turnover is below the registration required under the norms. That means it is less than 20 lakhs or under 40 lakhs. But still, because you are appointing the security people as the security contractor, on that security contractor you will have to pay the tax under the reverse charge mechanism if the security contractor is not registered. In that case also you will have to compulsorily get, or your society will have to compulsorily get registered under the reverse mechanism. So these were the few scenarios under which registration is compulsory. Now let us take the next one. And the next one is a non-resident taxable person who is engaged in providing the taxable supply. So here casual and the non-residential taxable person, I have marked it a color because are similar. So let us understand what is the similarity. A non-resident taxable person is a person who is engaged in providing the taxable supply. A taxable supply means only supply of the goods. A taxable service provider, non-resident, may not be liable for registration under this particular clause. So here, who is a non-resident person? So same like casual tax person, the non-resident person is from outside India, but he supplies certain goods within the taxable territory, then he is liable to get himself compulsory registration. Now both the casual taxable person and the non-resident taxable person, they have to get the registration 5 days before they start doing a business. Generally under the GST, a registration liability arises within the 30 days of starting a particular activity. But for this two person, that is a casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person, they have to get themselves registered prior to starting any business transaction, and this registration has to obtain at least 5 days in advance. Now let us look into the other categories and the registrations criteria. Now let us look into the fifth scenario. The person who is liable to deduct the tax at source, he is also required to compulsory register under the GST. Now what is the meaning of the term tax deduction at source? So let us understand the terminology. So tax deduction sources versus the tax collection at source, both are required to get themselves registered under the GST. Now tax deduction at sources is a deduction which has to be made whenever we make a payment to our creditor. That means if we are incurring certain expenses, when we are paying the creditor, we are not supposed to pay the 100% of the bill amount. We have to deduct the 5% of that particular bill amount, and then we have to pay to the government that 5%, and 95% has to be paid to the creditor. Now this deduction has to be made obviously by the payer of the amount, and the TDS requirement is payer specified as well as activity specified, and government has also provided the monetary limit. So if we are exceeding that particular monetary limit, then the payment 5% has to be deducted from the payer's money, paid to the government, and the payer can claim the same, or the supplier can claim the same in his e-cash ledger lying with the government. Then the next one is a tax collection at source. Now TDS is on the expense side, TCS is on the income side. That means whenever we are dealing with a particular customer or the debtors, and if it is a particular situation which specifies that 5% has to be deducted, that means what, if we are selling the customer the goods at 100 rupee, then we have to collect from him 105 rupees. 5 rupees will be paid to the government, 100 rupees will be kept by us. So here it is a receiver, payer and the seller has to collect the tax. The credit will obviously available to the customer or the debtors, but it is a responsibility of the person to collect a more amount, and that is known as TCS. Now there are certain scenarios which is prescribing when the TDS has to be deducted. Take for example, whenever a deductor is paying more than 2,50,000, then it has to be deducted. Now who has to deduct the tax? Any department or the establishment established by the central or the state government. That means if you are selling the goods to the central or the state government, government will deduct 5% and the 5% credit you will get, but the government will pay you 95%. Similar is the situation with local authority, government agency, or the society registered under the Society Registration Act, or the public sector undertaking. So whenever you are selling any goods to this 5 organizations, they will be deducting the TDS. However, the government has provided certain exception to the above scenario, and this exception is dealt separately under the topic of TDS. And now let us deal with the 6th scenario. We have already seen the first 5 scenario. The 6th one, if there is an e-commerce operator like Amazon or Flipkart, they have to compulsory get themselves registered, or the input service distributor or the agent. Input service distributor and the agent also will have to get themselves registered. Now what is the meaning of the input service distributor? Now if you are having a head office and the branch offices, and the bill is being paid at the head office, but the service or the goods are being provided at the branch office or utilized at the branch office, then the credit can be claimed only by the branch and not by the head office. So in this particular scenario, you have to get the input service distributor number, transfer that input tax credit to the respective branch, and the branch will be making a claim for the same, whereas the head office will have to distribute this tax. So in this scenario, irrespective of your turnover limit, you have to compulsorily get registered under the GST. Similarly, if you are an agent or a person who is acting on behalf of someone, or you are a broker or you are a commission agent, in that case also, any transaction between even the agent and the principal, even without consideration, is considered as a supply transaction, and for that reason each of the agent has to compulsory register themselves, each of the broker has to compulsory register themselves under the GST in accordance with this particular provision. Then the next one. So we have seen till now the 6th situation. The 7th one. Any person supplying the goods to the e-commerce operator. So e-commerce operator themselves are liable for registration, but if you are supplying the goods to the e-commerce operator, that means you are selling the goods through their website or even supplying any other services. In that case, you have to get compulsory registration under this particular subclause. And the last one, and the 8th one. Now the 8th one is any person engaged in the supplying of the online information or the database access or the retrieval service from a place outside India to any unregistered person, then he has to collect the tax at source, and that person has to compulsorily get himself registered. Take an example that you are going to use the cloud service. Now this cloud service, say iDrive, is situated or located outside India, and they are giving a service to you and you are paying them the money for the same, and your data is being stored outside India, your data is being retrieved from outside India, then the iDrive have to compulsorily get themselves registered under the Indian GST law. Kindly note, under all these 8 scenarios, registration is compulsory right from rupee 1. So if you don't register yourself and you are coming under this 8 scenario, there is a heavy penalty provision is there. So that care has to be taken and registration has to be obtained. And in the 2 scenario, even the prior registration is required and that obtained. Friends, go to the statutory declaration. The other part of the registration I am going to deal separately in the separate PPT. So section 23 provide who are not liable for registration, so that we are dealing separately. It also provides the specific circumstance under section 22 and the voluntary registration or the crossing of the limit. So this is also discussed separately, and the second and third is discussed in the second on another PowerPoint presentation. And what is the effect of the registration? That is also being discussed in the separate PowerPoint presentation. So you're required to go through all the PowerPoint presentation to get the idea of the liability which are there or the topic which is related to the registration. If you are looking forward for further practical guidance, say take example, if you are just getting a knowledge or if you are just a BCom students, and only for exam purpose it's sufficient. But if you want to get a practical guidance that how the form has to be filled up, in which document has to be filed, and all other things I would discuss in a separate PowerPoint presentation under the practical guidance for registration. In case if you have got any doubt or you required any clarification, kindly refer to my email address at the top and please contact me with the detail of what details you specifically require. Please note that this particular lecture is only for a knowledge based purpose, and in the particular circumstance there is a professional advice you may require, so do take that particular professional advice and kindly go through all the statutory declaration which I have made over here. Thank you.